Hello everyone, welcome to the comic review. My name is Eric. Today we're going to go retro once again, taking a look at another quirky adventure of that fabulous quartet. That's right, we are going to be taking a look at Fantastic Four number 4. As I've already said at least one time in this video, we're going to be taking a look at Fantastic Four number 4. This is issue written once again by Stan Lee, drawn once again by Jack Kirby, and we're going to be taking a look at the reintroduction of a very famous Marvel character of the Golden Age that is a staple of Marvel Comics even until this day. So let's go ahead, not waste any more time, and fly right into the issue. This issue opens up with 3 of the Fantastic Four members, Mr. Fantastic, The Thing, and Sue Storm, the Invisible Girl, in Chapter 1, On the Trail of the Torch. The team is talking about the fact that Johnny, the Human Torch, has left the team as of last issue. He could not take any more of the Thing's ever-loving blue-eyed snark and decided to leave the team. Reed then goes into a bit of a synopsis as to what happened in the last issue. Basically on a one-page spread, he goes over all the events of the previous issue with the Miracle Man, #1 Marvel villain right there. This now being the first time in the last couple of issues that Reed or one of the other characters doesn't recount the origin of the Fantastic Four. Now we're just recounting the previous issues. So here, you're automatically caught up. Awesome, way to go. But also click on the last video if you didn't watch it, because I do go into a whole thing about that. But regardless, anyway. Reed vows to find Johnny, make sure that he's okay. Thing vows to find Johnny and to pulverize him into a pulp, which worries Sue ever so much because she is the fair damsel of the team at this point, not really contributing anything except for, the occasional scream or, being captured and whatnot. Unfortunately, this is how women were written in the 60s. The Fantastic Four, or the Fantastic Three, then get into the Fantastic Car and launch without Johnny's portion because he's not going to need anywhere to sit when they find him. But regardless, they all go around to various locations where they think he's going to be. Sue decides to go to the local malt shop, Invisible, and scare people. Once again, the Fantastic Four just can't go out into public without messing with people. Invisible starts drinking other people's drinks and making them think that ghosts are in the area. I don't understand this family whatsoever. They're just strange. Next, Reed decides to question nearby motorcyclists because Johnny, having a love for cars and that kind of stuff, we're not going to go looking for him in a garage. We'll get to that in a minute. But we're not going to go looking for him in like a garage that he would normally hang out in or anything like that. No, what Mr. Fantastic is going to do is use his elastic powers to just grab motorcyclists off the friggin' street and question them as to whether or not they've seen the Human Torch. Not even caring about the fact that once you pluck a human off of their bike, they're going to just drive, the car is just going to drive off into wherever, possibly damaging these people's motorcycles. Again, the Fantastic Four just don't give a crap about anything. Property damage, collateral damage, anything like that. Don't care, whatever. Johnny is actually in Swanson's garage, somewhere in New York, I assume, where he is helping friends of his work on cars. They comment, the friends, that the entire country is looking for the Human Torch. I don't know why the entire country is looking for him. Maybe to arrest him for burning up rockets and stealing spaceships and whatnot. I don't know. Probably not those things. But we get the establishment that the country is looking for the Human Torch, not just the Fantastic Four. Johnny then is working on the cars, welding things together, using his torch powers, showing off for his friends. He's actually found by the Thing. The Thing seems to be the only smart person in this regard as far as knowing where Johnny is. He, instead of knocking on the door and having a nice casual conversation with his comrade about coming home and rejoining the team and apologizing, he bursts through the door, actually bursts through a wall, starts causing all sorts of property damage and everything, threatens him to come back, and this is where we get into Chapter 2 of our story, Enter the Submariner, which is a spoiler for what the character that we're going to be finding is. But you've already seen the cover too, and I've probably shown the cover in this video, and you clicked on the cover, by the way, to get here. So, I don't know why I'm keeping this a secret. Thing threatens Johnny by telling him to turn his flames down or he's going to start smashing him with the car. Has a car lifted up over his head. Johnny deflames, but then instead of just putting the car down, he decides to throw it through the wall anyway because who cares about these cars? It's not his car. Why does he care? He can't even drive a car. He's too big. He would crush the doors of a car if even trying to get into it. So why does he care about other people's cars? Oh my gosh, so much destruction. I mean, I feel like this family just needs to go and talk to like a therapist. You know, we just need to get all the issues out right now, dealt with. Maybe they do that. I have no idea. I haven't read past issue 5 of this series. So maybe they do. Who knows? During the altercation between Johnny and the Thing randomly just starts reverting back into his normal self. He gets completely distracted by the fact that he is a man once again, and Johnny takes the moment to flame on, fly away, and leaves the Thing as a bumbling mess, because as soon as Johnny flies off, the Thing reverts back into a thing. And I just don't know. I don't know if Stan didn't have any rules or anything like that governing why, you know, things reversion and whatnot. It's happened in the last few issues of the series where he reverts back to his normal self. It happened during the fight with the Skrulls. It did not happen with the fight with the Miracle Man. So far, contrary to what I just said, he's reverted back at least one time during the series. I know he reverts at other times. I know later on they established the rules of, I think it's once a year he reverts back to his normal self. So I just don't know what Stan's reasoning is. I don't know if it was just a clever way of like, hey, we need a way for Johnny to get away from the Thing. Let's have him revert back to his human form real fast. And then as soon as Johnny leaves, we'll revert him back and make him all sad and mopey, because that will calm him down. But it's the 60s. You know, what are you going to do? Johnny then wanders into a derelict section of New York called the Bowery, which I had to go back and look up things on the Bowery, realizing A, it is a real place in New York. I'm not anywhere from New York, so I have no idea about that. But back then it was a very downtrodden, derelict section of the city. I think it's been going through revivals here in the last 10, 20 years, but for the most part, it was where a lot of the down and out and forgotten of the city lived. A lot of early attempts by like the YMCA and other mission organizations like that established there to do some housing for people. But this is where Johnny finds himself amongst a plethora of other down and out homeless individuals, and decides to go and live in what is just referred to on the sign as a men's hotel. It's almost like the YMCA or Salvation Army of the time, although I think you had to pay 25 cents to live there. But it was basically for them to get a bed and cleaned up and whatnot. So Johnny decides to live here for the time being until he can plan out his next move, and he is sitting reading a Submariner comic, because as we'll see in Fantastic Four, everything is related to comic books and the life of Johnny Storm. We'll get into that in a little bit. So as Johnny is reading the Submariner comic, he gets told by one of the other residents of the home that there is a guy there who is also as strong as a submariner with long hair, a beard, and everything. The other gentlemen in this establishment decide to pick a fight with this guy. He roughs him up pretty well, and then Johnny takes a look at him and notices something. And just like in Incredible Hulk #1, we find out that makeovers make the man. In that issue, it was Bruce Banner making the gargoyle look beautiful again. In this issue, it's Johnny Storm performing the makeover, doing a little trimming with his flame powers. Basically takes the beard off of this gentleman, cuts his hair down, and realizes that it is none other than Prince Namor, the Submariner. Submariner, for those of you who do not know who he is, he was a classic Marvel character. He's one of the first Marvel comic characters created. I believe he premiered in Marvel Comics #1 along with the original Human Torch. He was more like an anti-hero back in those days, but quickly teamed up with Captain America and other World War II heroes to fight the Germans, to fight against Nazism back in those days, and then kind of ran off into obscurity after that point. And this is the issue where he gets revived back into the Marvel Universe. This leads us into Chapter 3 of our story, Let the World Beware. Reed, once again, interfering with the lives of everyday citizens, is using his elastic powers to, I think, stop a helicopter in mid-flight to ask if they've seen Johnny Storm, which, again, I don't know what's going on here. And it doesn't seem like the world is looking for Johnny Storm. It just looks like the Fantastic Four are. So, you know, I would have loved for the military to show up Well, they do, but that's not neither here nor there. Like I said, Reed encounters a helicopter crew. He also pokes his head into a subway train. Susan is literally a foot away from her brother and doesn't see him as he's walking out of the mission with the Submariner. Johnny then decides that the best way to restore the Submariner's memories, because what I forgot to mention was that Submariner doesn't know that he is the Submariner, is he throws him into the ocean. Now, upon doing that, he fully regains his memories and travels to Atlantis. When he gets down there, he realizes that Atlantis has been pretty much destroyed. All the inhabitants have left, blaming man for destroying his home, and has decided that he himself is going to rid the world of mankind. This takes us into chapter 4 of the story, Submariner's Revenge. The Fantastic Four have found Johnny now because he shot his Fantastiflare up into the sky to summon the Fantastic Four, basically letting them know now, once they've all encountered each other, that he has now let loose evil upon the world. Meanwhile, Submariner is now on the ocean floor, and he finds a trumpet horn that his ancestors had buried there, and he meets Giganto. Giganto is an evil, large sea monster. You know this because his last name ends in O. I believe I remember some interview with a comic book creator saying that that was how you made gave a villain a very villainy name, by putting an O on the back of it. If you don't believe me, we have Despero and Sinestro over there at DC, and now we have Giganto over here at Marvel. There's also a Mazo over at DC, so there's some truth into the ending in O thing and being a villain. Now that we have Giganto attacking the town, the book quickly reverts back into a Monster of the Month kind of a storyline, where the Fantastic Four are now trying to just defeat the newest monster attacking the Earth. Giganto starts attacking the city. The military gets called in to defend the city against Giganto. None of its weapons are having an effect. Even the Human Torch is getting stopped because it's basically just getting drenched by the water coming out of its blowhole. Reed at one point uses elastic powers to catch Johnny, which is probably a positive use of his powers at this point in the storyline. Giganto then is basically just wrecking the city. All coastal property is just being completely decimated, which pretty much means the entire island of Manhattan. Just buildings toppling everywhere. The Thing once again gets a brilliant idea inspired by Stan Lee. Apparently in New York City in the 1960s, there were military depots that just happened to house nuclear bombs. Thing gets a great idea and decides to strap a nuclear bomb to his back while Giganto is resting, because apparently in the middle of destroying the city, he decided to take a nap. The Thing walks inside the creature like Jonah and the whale with a bomb strapped to his back, with the intent of detonating the bomb inside the monster and killing it. This immediately takes us into chapter 5, which is called Return to the Deep. The Thing is slowly but surely walking through the interiors of Giganto. He sees old boats that were left behind from his conquest. He also sees large sea creatures down there that the Thing now has to fight. Giganto has been sleeping and slumbering for hundreds, if not thousands of years, or just a long time. And I think the biggest issue with this is that none of these creatures got digested. They've just been living inside this thing. So what was the point, I guess, of him eating them? If it wasn't for nourishment, just maybe it was fun. Maybe he liked the thought of little sea creature things tickling his insides like butterflies. Who knows? But for some reason, the Thing has to fight sea creatures inside Giganto. And then just as Thing reaches the mouth of the beast, the nuclear bomb goes off. Now, I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking at this point. God, this guy can ramble. The other thing you're thinking at this point is, how in the world did Thing survive a nuclear blast? Who knows? Again, I don't think Stan had the best comprehension of how nuclear energy works, but somehow the Thing, unscathed, was able to survive a nuclear blast. I mean, he may have some trouble fighting Galactus later on, but nuclear blast, we got it down. It's okay. We can survive this. Namor then goes on a rant about how as long as he has that ancient horn, that he will never to be defeated. He can just call upon other sea creatures. Sue steals the horn because she's invisible, so that's all she's good for in this issue, and starts to run off with it. Namor catches her because apparently even though her clothes are invisible, they're on her, and the soft drinks that she stole from other people turned invisible once touching her or anything. She couldn't turn the horn invisible. So Namor was able to easily tackle her and capture her. And at this point, she turns back into visibleness. And Namor immediately, I don't know if he falls in love or what, but he immediately declares that Susan is the most beautiful, lovely woman he has ever met, and that he will stop his attack on the surface world if she marries him. Reed, being the macho boyfriend that he is, decides to threaten Namor that, Susan will never have to make the choice of the Earth or Namor, and Namor again plots to destroy him. He declares that he will bring attacks so great that man will have to push themselves back into caves like cavemen and be taken away from society and whatnot. Sue decides that she'll do anything to stop this and declares that she will be his bride, but then he gets offended over the fact that she is talking like she's going to sacrifice herself and that it should be an honor to be married to Namor. The gentlemen of the Fantastic Four then attack Namor. He's able to quickly, with one punch, knock out the 3 men, despite the fact that the thing just survived a nuclear blast. He could survive Chernobyl, but he can't survive one punch to the face. But they all get knocked down. Johnny then gets the fantastic idea of becoming Flame-NATO. He then takes his flame powers, turns them on, and quickly spins a water tornado over Namor, gets him soaked up into the tornado along with Giganto, and then casts them both out back into the ocean. This act knocks Namor out. The horn, which also got blown out into the ocean, is now lost forever. I have no idea, honestly, if this thing ever comes back. I'm sure it probably does at some point, but who knows. Namor, because he gets revitalized by the ocean, is now revitalized. So you would think Johnny would throw him into a desert, because based on Stan's writing, I'm pretty sure he could make that throw. He gets thrown out into the ocean, revitalized, and vows to have his revenge. The Thing is actually the only one that actually brings this point up about throwing Namor into the ocean, getting healed by that being a stupid idea. Reed then says that, if Namor comes back, he'll find us waiting, and that's the end of the issue. Namor, at this point, becomes kind of like a secondary character as far as villains go in early Fantastic Four. He doesn't show up in the next issue, but he does, I believe, show up in a team-up issue with another long-standing Marvel villain, Fantastic Four villains. In particular, I'm not going to spoil who it is, although, it's a book from the 60s. What could I possibly be spoiling? But regardless, Namor does make a whole lot of constant appearances in these early Fantastic Four books. Pretty much, for the most part, it's just Namor and one other villain that keep, basically they just keep on switching off as to who fights the Fantastic Four when. But that is pretty much this issue. So let me know what you guys think of this episode of the Comic Review and the contents therein. Did you like the reintroduction of Namor, the Submariner, back into the Marvel universe? Did you even realize he was gone? Tell me what your favorite aspect of the preposterousness of this issue was. Was it the Flame-NATO that Johnny made? Was it things surviving a nuclear blast? Was the fact that no one in this family will talk out their problems and they just have to smash and scare people all the time? Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. And if you got this far into the episode, I thank you very much. If you can go ahead, click that like button and the subscribe button as well. We are attempting to come out with new reviews, mostly retro reviews right now, weekly. If you like the content that we have been putting up, go ahead and like and subscribe. And again, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next review. Later.